We're here with Kurt Creamer of Senergy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your company?
All right, Carlee. As Carlee said, my name is Kurt Creamer. I started a company called Senergy about 5 or 6 years ago, and the purpose of my business is to conduct energy audits for agricultural operations. And the reason I got started in this business is because of a specific program with the United States Department of Agriculture. This program offered grants to small farmers and rural small businesses to pay for a portion of the costs associated with upgrading their operations to make them more energy efficient. So this program requires an energy audit, and it has to be an independent energy audit. So when farmers apply for the program, they have to contract with somebody like me to conduct an energy audit on their operation, and specifically on the project that they want to do on their farm. So a typical example would be a irrigation project. They want to put in a new irrigation system, and this new irrigation system might be what's called a center pivot irrigation system that can be quite a bit more efficient than the high pressure irrigation systems they've used in the past. So this new low pressure irrigation system is going to save money because it requires a much smaller horsepower pump in order to supply the system. And so what I do is I go to the farm, I talk to the farmer, I get the specs on the new irrigation system and run some engineering calculations to look at the potential energy savings of this new irrigation system. So I quantify those savings, I figure out how many dollars they're going to save per year, I look at the cost of the system, and then, of course, calculate the payback. How long will it take to pay back this system? Another component of it is just calculating the actual percentage energy savings, which in some cases are quite phenomenal. So normally what my job involves is creating some sort of engineering model. It's usually a fairly straightforward heat transfer model or other fluid flow model that analyzes these systems that I'm looking at and enables me to make some calculations on how much energy is being saved. Another example would be a grain dryer. So a number of farmers who grow corn and wheat and soybeans, they have to dry these crops in order for them to not get moldy or ruined during storage. So typically what they'll do is once the grains are harvested, they'll dry them in a grain dryer, and these grain dryers, the older ones, were not very efficient because when they were built, the price of energy was much lower. So today there's much more energy efficient grain dryers available, and these farmers are very interested in purchasing these dryers, and what they do then is they apply for this program, they call me in, I do the energy audit, look at the efficiency of their old grain dryer, compare that to the energy efficiency of their new grain dryer, and make those calculations so that they can then turn in this audit with their application, and ideally, and in fact most cases, they'll get a significant portion of the capital cost of the project reimbursed. Another kind of project that I do is poultry barns. So in recent years, farmers have gone from open construction poultry barns to cases where they actually close in the sides of the barns and have the opportunity at that point to make the barns much more energy efficient. So they can add insulation into the walls of the barns, and then they can also add insulation in the ceiling of the barns and very dramatically reduce the energy use in their poultry barns. Now, I'm not really limited to energy efficiency applications. I also do some projects that involve renewable energy. This fall, I'm going to be working on a project to look at the use of sweet potatoes in what's called an anaerobic digester. So, sweet potato farming often involves a lot of culls. So these are sweet potatoes that for one reason or another don't make the grade. Either they're too small, they're too large, or they're starting to rot. And the farmer was asking me if that would be an appropriate fuel source or energy source for an anaerobic digester. So what I'll do in that case is look at how much sweet potatoes they're actually producing on the farm that they can't sell, and then I'll look at the energy potential of these sweet potatoes and see how much energy could be produced using this technique called anaerobic digestion from these sweet potatoes. So it's possible that we could generate enough what's called biogas from the sweet potatoes to actually meet the requirements of their farm. When I first got started in the program, I was doing the projects on a basis where the farmers would pay me directly, and that was a little challenging for the farmers because they would have to pay for the energy audit up front. Back in those days, some of the projects I did were on dairy farms, and in fact they were projects to look at the use of solar water heating on dairy farms. So dairy farms use a lot of hot water in cleaning and sterilizing or sanitizing the milking equipment. And what I did is worked with a local developer, installer of solar water heating equipment, and we ran some calculations on how much hot water they were using on these dairy farms and how much it would cost to put in a solar hot water heating system and how much energy it would save. So we actually ended up with a couple of projects where we had these systems installed as a result of these applications and the audits. Later, the North Carolina Farm Bureau got involved and decided that they would pay up front for the audit, so they could actually. So farmers now did not have to pay the full cost of the audit. The Farm Bureau, through a grant, pays up front for the audits, and this has given farmers a much allowed them to participate much more extensively in the program, just because now they don't have to pay for the audit up front. So they're much more willing to go out on a limb and sign up for this program and send in these applications for their energy saving project. So that's been a real boon to my business to have the Farm Bureau involved in the project.
And when did the Farm Bureau get involved?
Farm Bureau got involved, I think it was, this is the second year that they've been involved. So I've signed a contract with the Farm Bureau. They pay me a set fee for the audits. And then, as I said, from over the years, what I've done is created these models for all these different systems, so that when a farmer comes to me with a project, I gather the information from him and then plug it into my spreadsheet models that are, again, these are simple heat transfer and fluid flow models to look at the potential savings of these projects.